So I got a Rockler XL Box joint jig. This comes with two bars that are for 3/4 inch box joints and 1/2 inch box joints. And I got this because it was on sale and it looked a lot more robust than the smaller box joint jig. And then when I got it home, I realized, oh, okay, this one only does 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch for bigger projects. Well, I want to make smaller stuff too. So after I got it home, I looked at it. I realized that all it needs is another plate, kind of like this, that has the smaller box joint piece and goes from there. But in any case, I realized that as long as I had something that fit in this slot and had an equivalent piece to slide the box over, I could use smaller boxes for here. So what I did, I bought a pack of whiteside brass height gauges, 5-piece set, part number 9810. That comes with 4-inch long, 1/8 inch, 3/16, 1/4 inch, 3/8, and 1/2 inch gauges. The other set that I have just has little short bars, and that wouldn't work as well. But this one is long enough to go, in front of and behind here, and realistically, you have the box from here, you go past the bit, and that's it. So it really only has to go right there. So I had this piece of aluminum from some project or something I took apart. I had a piece of aluminum up in the cupboard. I cut it to this wide. Then I had a pack of these screws. They're metric screws with the flat heads that came from something that I just had extra screws for, or I just took something apart and had screws, or didn't use it and had screws. In any case, I had screws. So I drilled a hole in the aluminum. I didn't have the right tap and die for that, but it's aluminum, so I put the screw in the drill, carefully had it at 90 degrees, and just used the screw to cut its own threads into the aluminum, and that worked great. Then the screws stuck past about that far, like 1/8 of an inch down past the bottom of this, or maybe the thickness, not quite the thickness of the material of the aluminum, but it stuck down past. So I set it in place, tapped it down, and then that marked where these came through. And then I took the drill bit and I drilled down into the particle board, wood, MDF, whatever this is, and then put this in place, back the screws out, and screwed it down in so that this screw put threads down in the wood. And then I just put it in place, and it's actually held in place with these two screws. Now, the one thing I'm not 100% sure long term, because that's not a whole lot of holding power, I might need to put an additional set of screws from here down into the wood, but I have space for that, and that shouldn't be a problem. And the cool thing is, well, the hard part first is getting, and that's with any box joint jig, is getting this lined up such that the distance between this bar and the side of the bit is the same width as the bar. This is a 1/4 inch, which is 16/64. Initially, I had it 17/64. So what that meant is it made these things with the gaps at a 1/4 inch and these at 17/64, so the pins don't go in the gaps, which is kind of annoying. So then I loosened up everything, because this is my little Rockler mini router table, and I loosened up all the pieces that were holding it down, bumped this thing closer to the bar, did one test cut for one piece, and it turns out that made 15 64s. So it's like, darn it, that's 64 is too small. So then I figured out, okay, what's about a 64th thickness? Well, I had this notepad and the backing cardboard was a 64th. So I loosened everything up, used one of the pieces for this with this edge, clamped that, set that down, put the piece of cardboard in the way, put it up close, squished it, tightened everything down, tested again, and the cool thing about that is I was able to make 1/4 inch box joint jig, well, 1/4 inch box joint in oak, and that's the first, well, that's the first attempt with it that had the right size, so that came out pretty good. It lines up, well, it was lined up better when I used 2 hands to set it, but it lined up nice and it fits and all that, so yeah, I'm very happy with that. Let's see if that worked. Yeah, anyway, it lined up really nice small gaps on all the things, and so the only thing that I might do, like I said, is I might attach this a little more securely, because when I'm pushing, well, the other thing is I had to wax this bar because obviously the aluminum, this slides a little bit better than this, so I put paste wax on there and that helps it slide a little bit better. And also because it's set up for, or this one is designed for larger, there's a little bit of tolerance, I should say. It wobbles slightly when you put the sled in, so that's not as bad when they're larger joints, but when they're smaller joints, it may make it a little bit loose. But again, first time, that's pretty good. I'd be happy with that. So that plus glue, and you won't see any gaps really. So yeah, that's really awesome. I got a 1/4 inch Diablo bit that, which one was it? Hold on. Okay, so this is the Diablo 1/4 inch, 1 inch cut length up spiral solid carbide bit. It's that model number. I think this is from home. I think I got it at Home Depot. I think so. Yeah. In any case, the bit works really nice. It does nice cuts and everything else, and yeah. So that's what this video is about, is the fact that I changed my XL sled to do smaller. And the other cool thing is, with just some minor tweaks, I should be able to put the 3/8 inch in here as well. So that way I'd be able to do 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch, 1/2 inch, and 3/4 all with the same box joint jig. So that should be nice. But if I put the 3/8 inch in here, because these screws will have to come up higher, I will definitely have to attach this with other screws so it holds it more securely. But again, that's no big deal. That's fairly simple compared to everything else. Holding that down a little bit more is fairly straightforward. So yeah, that's that video, an adjustment for my box joint jig.